Okay, so first thing to do, we're going to remove this big old circuit board, so we're going to cut all these wires off from the keyboards and from the pedal boards along here. Then there's other bits and pieces of wiring going off to various other parts of the machine. We'll cut all those off and get this big board out of the way. Okay, so we've removed the big circuit board. You can see the wires that we've cut off hanging down on the left hand side there. So the next thing to do is we'll remove the two amplifiers, which are these boards and the heat sinks and the capacitors that go with them. We will remove the wiring and also this little swell control, which we mentioned earlier, the two light dependent resistors and the light bulb inside that piece of wood. And then over on the other side we'll remove the power supply and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like minus all of those bits. Okay, so here's the organ with the lower circuit boards removed. I've left the two speakers, the swell pedal, the reverb unit, which I'm almost certain I'm not going to use, but there is a small possibility, so I'll leave it in there for now. The other speaker. Now we've got a few pieces of wood which can also go. There's this long piece here that goes all the way down to the bottom. It comes off a wooden bracket from underneath the keyboards, and then the other side you've got a similar thing, this thing here. They were the pieces which supported that big circuit board. They serve no other purpose whatsoever. There's no strengthening or anything like that, so I'm going to take those off, get them out of the way. And then I'm going to remove these circuit boards along the top. I'm just going to cut the wires off from the stop switches. Obviously the stop switches will be staying, and remove all of the circuit boards and the redundant wiring. And then from underneath, we flip that up again. There's more redundant wiring here. That's obviously going to go. And then underneath from the keyboards, the only wiring I'm going to leave is the wires from the actual keyboards themselves, so that's these orange and white wires, and then over here there's the ones from the bottom keyboard, which is a grey loom of wires as well, and everything else can go. So that's the next thing to do, and we'll come back and look at it after that. Okay, just before I remove these circuit boards at the back, the observant ones among you will probably have noticed from the earlier shots that there are these buttons along the front that look like thumb pistons, but they're not. They're actually latching switches, and those are part of these circuit boards. They're those things on the front there, and the way they work is that you can have any one of them selected at once. And I did think about keeping them and using them as thumb pistons, but they're the wrong sort of switch. You need a kind of touch and release switch for a thumb piston. Also, that particular type of switch, I know from experience, are inherently reliable, scratchy, noisy, and pretty much a waste of space when they get to this kind of age. So they are going to go along with the board they're connected to, but that will leave us with a bunch of holes in the front panel where they used to be. Plainly, if I remove those, then we have the holes left behind. Not entirely sure what I'm going to do with those yet. May put some simple push switches in there, touch switches, to use as thumb pistons. They're kind of not really exactly where you'd want them, but not sure. But I just thought I'd point out what those switches were and why we're not going to use them.